justify it and stop having to give reason, because and just trust that if I'm in my truth, like I read in this book, it said divine ideas don't conflict. And fully trusting that, because that's actually the truth. That's from my heart, right? And so I kind of was just, I'm sorry. Like I didn't say I'm sorry. I was like, I recognized, blah, blah, blah. Because I'm not sorry for being and doing and choosing what was best for me. But I'm happy because I love you. And I do respect our connection. And I respect the fact that you opened your heart to tell me how you feel. I'm happy to give context and to have an open conversation with you about this, and if I didn't want to, then that was okay too. And that's what's been a really big shift for me, because it's been kind of debilitating to always feel like I'm doing something wrong. And it still comes up, but I've always felt like I have to do this because if I don't, then that's wrong, that's mean. I have to do this because this person needs me to be this and blah, blah, blah. And that is like my train of thought, dude. It's like wild. And I've done a lot of work to be free of this and show myself that it doesn't mean I'm a bad person, because that was the limiting belief, was that if I let go of being almost the martyr, right, I'm going to be a bad person. I'm going to be like mean. I'm going to be bad. Like that was literally the thought. And I was like, Pam, I'm good, right? I'm a good person because it's just who I am. It's in my nature, and there's nothing I have to do to be that. And that was like a really not hard, but it was eye-opening. And it sounds so simple, but to a part of me who had been holding this 50-pound weight I didn't even know I was holding, because it just made so much sense. Like I had been justifying it for so long, I couldn't even see it that I was doing that. It was life-changing. Like I'm like, wow. And it doesn't just always change overnight. It's just something to think about and sit on and contemplate and know, because then now when you go back into the experience and you're relating with people, now is the opportunity to ground that knowledge, to ground that awareness and turn it into wisdom. And so yeah, I would say that I had the conversation and I said, I just took what I needed to take for myself, and I love you, and I hope you know that it wasn't personal, and that I've always loved you. Like we've had such a close relationship, and I if it's aligned and everything, whatever's gonna happen is gonna happen. I'm happy to give you again the context of where I'm at, why I made the decision. And it was nothing about you, and I'm just taking this time to really honor and listen to myself and take what I need. And I have to surrender and let go of the idea that I need to make sure that's okay for everybody else before I'm putting my own oxygen mask on. And that was my lesson to learn. And I'm honestly super thankful that I got to learn a lot of those hard lessons around people who were open and able to talk about things like this, because then they're open and they're like, yeah, because they're logical, right? Like they're like, oh yeah, like they're consciously aware of like, yeah, like who am I to demand space from someone's journey, right? Like if we really are everything's happening the way it's meant to happen and everyone's on their own journey and there's unlimited amount of space to have that experience, then you start to realize oh wait, I'm engaging in this projection and I'm feeling entitled to something because of my own lack or my own unconscious. And no. And it was nice because, again, sometimes when you have that conversation with someone who, again, would take that personal, it might put seeds of doubt in that realization. So I do think it was very orchestrated for me to have the stage, right? To set the stage, to be open and honest, to share where I was at, and then reflect on, yeah, even if I didn't respond to this and give the context, I'm still not a bad person and it's still not wrong, if that makes sense. But I chose to do it, and I didn't even react right away. I thought about it for a couple days. I thought about what I wanted to say, and I consciously chose how to react, because I was able to fully receive the lesson by being so present with all of the emotions that came up and letting them come up and not letting any of them be wrong. and then acting out of that place of knowledge, and then again, then that alchemizes and turns it into wisdom because I acted on it, and then I got to experience it, the things that I had been contemplating for whatever year during that time. And obviously I thought about it when I did not answer text messages, and I thought about it when I missed my friends, however, I just knew that I needed to step away, and I needed to not engage with anything, and I needed to have those thoughts, and I needed to feel those things to free myself from those things. And and it feels honestly amazing to kind of be out of, I won't say I'm out, but I feel like I went through a lot, like a big cycle of lessons. And I feel brand new in a way, like restored. And I think there are invitations that I feel to walk through new doors. And I'm starting to again feel the feeling of like, I can feel myself starting to build another box, if that makes sense, because I'm comfortable here. And it's almost like I just want to keep walking through the doors I already know, if that makes sense. Because a part of me is like, okay, great, we're here, or whatever, right? We just went through some things. It's like, I don't want to do it again. But that's life, because it's, when I think, like someone was saying how like love is like an anagram for evolve, and like evolve, like thinking of like the Latin root or whatever. But if we think about like love is just a word to describe something that we feel, and unconditional love, the way that I'm starting to perceive it really is loving the impermanence of life itself, and like being fully accepting and surrendering to that, and falling in love with the death and the constant rebirth that's all around. And it's hard because it doesn't always feel the best. And I think, when I was on my like little medicine journeys, a lot of it was being taught how to die. Like they would literally take me in these ceremonies and convince me, because I would forget, it was like weird, convince me that I was dying so that I could feel the chemical release, and I would literally be in a casket in certain situations. And this was on ayahuasca, so again, it's not like, this isn't a trip. And I would be in a casket, and I would feel so much fear, and so many thoughts were rushing through, but then eventually there'd be something kind of like instructing me. I don't know how to explain that. And eventually I got used to the feeling of what that release felt like, that where I stopped fearing it, because I knew, because I got to experience that, like when you break past that feeling of like breaking past that belief that's so deeply ingrained through so much attachment, I got to feel the bliss on the other side. So then I started to like almost condition myself to not react to that feeling of dying. And honestly, that was like crazy. But I do feel like, obviously, I've been back in like very grounded for a while now. And I do feel that part of me resistant to walking through doors that I don't fully know yet. Like new doors, like the next part of my cycle or whatever, this next evolution of self, a deeper knowing of me. I'm obviously like on the surface, I'm like, I want to, and I'm like here, and I'm right here, but I see also that there's parts of me like that, like this space a lot, and is building a lot of comfort and like anchoring into it almost, and then I start hearing the justifications of it. And so I'm like, no, I know what I'm doing. And I guess I just have to not wait, but like, I don't know. I have to sit with it more. I think it's because I don't know what the door looks like fully, or like I don't have a word for it. It's just a feeling. But I think along what I just went through, I have some distrust, or like seeds of like, I guess fear, we'll just call it fear, of not wanting to die again, basically. Like, yeah, that was like what happened the last 3 years. It was beautiful and it's amazing, and I'm so thankful I'm like on the other side, like great, amazing. I'm like, but oh God, another one? You know what I mean? And I know it's gonna be like that. And I just like, part of me is like, yeah, surrender into it, but I know there's a part of me that's like, I'm tired. Yeah, death becomes like breathing.